Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday midweek service. This is our opportunity we have to take the principles that we've been talking about and put them into practical application in our lives. This is the part I really love. This is the part where we get to really see how what we've been talking about can actually transform our lives. And we get to apply these principles to real life circumstances in a way that we prove that this is all not just theory, that this is actually a way that we can change our lives and actually transform our world. So this month we are looking at the theme of the journey of becoming. And our Wednesday evening services have been supporting that theme through different spiritual practices. The first Wednesday we talked about what is becoming through me, and we used the spiritual practice of visioning. Last week we talked about surrender is action, and we used the practice of spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer, to apply those ideas of surrender and get them to a place where we can actually begin to embody that idea. This week our focus is on acceptance. The title for tonight's talk is Acceptance in Action. So it's actually not just taking that principle of acceptance, but actually seeing how we can apply it into our life to change things. You know, we're all faced with different circumstances in our lives, and our experience of those circumstances is based largely on how we react to them. If we resist them, if we fight against them, it seems to magnify the experience, the negative experience that we're having with those situations that we're in. You know, acceptance is lots of different things, and there are lots of things that it is not. First off, acceptance is not for wimps. This is a true and tried spiritual practice that will actually change your life. Many of the ideas that we're going to talk about come from our Eastern philosophies of Hinduism and Buddhism. And because they have spent many years looking at this idea of suffering and how we can alleviate suffering in our lives. So first off, let's look at what acceptance is not. So acceptance is not agreement. Acceptance is not, oh, this happened to me, so I agree with it. It's not a defeatist kind of point of view. It is just simply a recognition of what is. We don't acquiesce to it. We're not giving in to it. We're not quitting or giving up. Acceptance is not a sign of weakness. As I said before, it is not for wimps. This is a tough spiritual practice that we can actually really begin to implement in our lives. And acceptance is not resignation. It is simply a non-resistant point of view. It is simply not fighting against it. You know, and our founder, Ernest Holmes, writes, that which we resist persists. In other words, those things that we fight against in our lives seem to be the things that show up more and more and more. When we begin to accept the things that we cannot change, then we begin to have a different experience of those situations. In the Buddhist tradition, they have a wonderful little equation here about suffering. They say that suffering equals pain times resistance. So the pain that you experienced in any situation in which you are suffering is magnified, multiplied by the amount of resistance you put towards that. So you can just imagine if you take that resistance out, how much you are going to lessen the pain of the experience. You know, we talk about pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. If we are no longer resisting that thing that we are fighting against, then we alleviate part of the pain that we experience along with that situation. And one thing that acceptance is really good for, it allows you to move on. It allows you to move past that experience that you're having and get on to what's available for you in the situation. There are some things that you can practice as you're moving through acceptance that will begin to actually make it a little easier for you to accept. The first thing that you can practice is this sense of detachment. It's removing yourself from the situation. That it is not something that is happening to you. It is something that's around you that is part of what you're experiencing right now. And if you move yourself out of that, move yourself away from it, then the degree of suffering that you experience because of it is lessened. It's an idea, this idea of detachment is that you're okay just the way you are right now. This thing is happening, and it's a reality, but you're okay regardless of that. And so that's a really interesting place to get to. The second thing we can begin to practice in in acceptance is letting go of the things that are draining our energy, the things that take up our time, the things that are limiting ourselves. Am I sitting here beating a dead horse at this? Am I doing something that's not going to make any change here? It's letting go of the idea that I can actually control the situation or change the situation. It's somehow a self-deceptive point of view. If I don't let go of it, I am deceiving myself that I can actually change what's happening here. But by stepping aside and letting go of it, then we can begin to actually feel a little difference. One of the questions that we can ask ourselves in this situation is it better for me mentally, better for me physically, emotionally, financially? Is it better for me if I let go of this? Or is it better for me to hold on to it and try to stay in the situation and make some kind of change in there? That's only you can answer that. But which thing is actually going to be better for you? To release it or to fight it? And so one of the people that I studied when I studied Greek philosophy was Epictetus. And Epictetus says, there's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about the things which are beyond the power of our will. The only way to happiness is to cease worrying about the things that are beyond the power of our will. As long as we are focusing on those things that we want to be different, then we're not always going to be experiencing that, and it's going to keep us in that place of suffering. But if we can accept what it is and allow ourselves to move past it, then we can actually begin to experience something different. And the third thing that we can begin to practice with this idea of acceptance is practicing Stoicism. Now, Stoicism is to remain steady, to not be affected by the things that are happening around us. Joel Goldsmith says we should not be a pendulum that's blowing in the wind. If all we are is something that is affected by external circumstances, then those external circumstances are what is controlling our lives. So, what are some of the ways that we can practice Stoicism? Well, one thing you can do is to make a list of things you can actually control. Just make yourself a list. These are things that I can do something about. And then choose one thing on that list and take action on it to make a change in your life. One, it will have you turn away from the problem that you're facing right now and focus in a different direction, which is always a benefit to moving through difficult situations. Is to actually turn away from it. When you encounter some kind of an obstacle, accept it and then do something about that. Marcus Aurelius says this, I love this quote. He says, "A cucumber is bitter. Throw it away. There are briars in the road. Walk around them. This is enough." These little actions that we can take, if this is something we can change, if something we can do something about, and we do something about it, then that affects the situation that we're in. But when we fight against the things that we can't change, then we wind up just perpetuating that feeling of suffering that we have. One of the things that I like to do in situations like this is to look at what is here for me to know, what is here for me to learn, what is here for me to experience, and what is not. What is mine to do in this situation, and what is something that is mine to let go of? And actually begin to explore that idea in a deeper way of choosing those things that are mine to do, letting go of the things that are not mine to do, and seeing how my life transforms through that. If we continue to resist those things, if we continue to hold on to them and allow them to become even a bigger thing in our lives, then we perpetuate the suffering. But when we begin to release it and let it go and know that we are not surrendering or defeating, or we are not showing signs of weakness, but that we are actually showing signs of strength in each one of these situations. If we think that if I let go of this, then I've given up and I've surrendered to something that someone else has somehow beat me, something has won over me, and I feel wronged in that situation. I feel the victim. But as long as we stay in that victim consciousness, we can't evolve spiritually. We have to begin to go to the next level of consciousness, which is the manifestor consciousness, where we begin to change our experience of a situation. But as long as we're wallowing in the victim part of it, our life will never change. We are not accepting what's happening. We are feeling victim to what is happening. And so as long as we stay in that position, we won't have any different experiences in our life. It may be a different set of circumstances, but it's going to wind up being the same kind of experience, another experience of feeling victimized. But if we realize that I don't have to be this, if something is not working in my life, I can let it go. If someone is not working in my life, I can let them go. There are things in our lives that we can control, and there are things that we cannot control. And acceptance is about learning to distinguish between those things. Releasing those things that we can, doing something about the things that we can do something about. That's the way that we can actually begin to affect a great deal of change in our lives. We don't want to spend our time dwelling on these situations that are causing us a great deal of pain and suffering. We need to move on to something else that is actually transformative. Because in the pain and the suffering, there is nothing but more pain and suffering. And so releasing those, letting those go, accepting what is, surrendering to that, and allowing it to be a transformative force in our lives can really begin to make changes in our lives. This is just one of those, another one of those spiritual practices, and this is one where we can actually begin to apply different techniques to it. For instance, one of the techniques that I like to do with when I'm in a situation like this is to journal about it, to take that into this practice of journaling. The practice that I like to do with situations like this is called dialogue journaling. And I like to actually have a conversation with the situation that I'm in. Actually begin to look at it and see what it has to say to me. So dialogue journaling is very, very easily. It reminds me of the plays that we used to read in our elementary reading textbooks, where it said, Jane says, you have the word Jane and then what she says, and then you have Joe and what Joe says, and then you have Spot and what Spot says or does. And so it's the same kind of thing. You're going to ask a question to this situation, whatever this is, and then see what the situation has to say with you. It is stream of consciousness journaling, where you just sit in the silence and write down whatever comes through without judging it. That's the key point there. Don't judge it. Don't resist it. Just write it down and see what happens. After you've asked the first question and gotten the first response, sit in the silence and see what wants to be asked next. And then ask that question, get a response, and go through. Usually, I find when I'm doing dialogue journaling, I get an answer very quickly. It's like I just have to take that time and slow down and look at it from this place of contemplation and this place where I'm feeling connected and see what's available for me to learn there. So it's one of these really great practices that you can do to really begin to shift a situation and get clarity about what is here for you to do. Once you get the clarity, then you can decide at that point, is this something that I can accept by moving around it? Is this something I can accept by doing something to change it? Is this something I can accept and just release it from my life? And so, different things will come through to you as you're doing this practice of journaling. But it's a really great tool for getting clarity about situations. Dialogue journaling is fun. You can do it with lots of different things. If you have an ache in your body, and you can dialogue with that ache. What do you want to tell me here? Ask the part of your body. If it's Your knee is hurting. Okay, knee, what is it that I need to know right now? And, wait for the knee to answer you and see what comes through. It's always fascinating to see what our subconscious will bring forth when we take time to listen to it. So, let's go ahead and cement these ideas with a little bit of spiritual mind treatment. Again, this is our form of affirmative prayer. And as I talked about last week, there are 5 stages to it. We recognize the presence of the divine. We unify ourselves with it. We make statements of realization. We give thanks, and then we let it go. So I invite you to just take a moment and center yourselves, whatever way is comfortable for you. And if you want to, you can go ahead and close your eyes and take in a breath. And so I begin by recognizing the presence of the divine. It is right here, right now. It fills this space. It is moving through me. It is the breath I take and the air I breathe. It is the allness and the fullness of the universe. It manifests itself beautifully and uniquely through each one of its creations, which have been so lovingly brought forth through that power of unconditional love, of infinite wisdom, of perfect peace. And I know this one is showing up as each one of us. It is the very life we lead. It is a life of unconditional love, of divine creativity, of infinite intelligence. It is a life of wholeness and perfection. I know it is my life, and I know it is your life. For truly, nothing exists outside of this one. And so in recognition of the power and the presence of the divine manifested as all life, I speak my word. I know that right here and right now, that divine presence is moving through me, allowing me to accept those things that are brought forth in my life in a way that allows me to learn from them, to grow from them, to transform through them. And I know in this acceptance is a willingness to release those things that don't serve the evolution of my soul, to release those things that are hindering and blocking and limiting me in any way. I know that this act of acceptance releases my resistance and lessens the pain and the suffering. I know through this divine spiritual practice that my life is uplifted and that it unfolds beautifully and easily and effortlessly in all things. And I just give thanks for this knowing. I am so, so grateful to feel this power, to see it operating in the world, to know it is the truth of each and every one of us. And so I release this word into the law, into that creative aspect of spirit that knows no limitations and has no boundaries. I just simply let it go and let it be. And calling it perfect, I let it go. And so it is. Here at Center for Spirits Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
Joy and peace in my heart, always I feel. Joy and peace in my mind, God within revealed. Joy and peace in my life, I am healed. I am one with God, I know the truth. I am one with creation and one with you. There is no separation between all that is. I am one. Joy and peace in my heart, always I feel. Joy and peace in my mind, God within revealed. Joy and peace in my life, I am healed. Spirit dwells within me, guides all I do. It infuses my life, and with the light I am new. I am rich with abundance of all that is good. All is good. Joy and peace in my heart, always I feel. Joy and peace in my mind, God within revealed. Joy and peace in my life, I am healed. From the core I thank you, God, for giving me this truth. Knowing it is so, I release it all to you. Joy and peace in my heart, always I feel. Joy and peace in my mind, God within revealed. Joy and peace in my life, I am healed. Oh, I am healed. I am healed.
I want to thank you for joining us tonight for our midweek service. Please consider joining us each Wednesday as we will take the ideas from Sunday talks and expand upon them in different ways. And I invite you to join us on our Sunday services. Currently, we are meeting one Sunday a month in person, and that's at Abston Elementary School. The details are available on our CSLGLV.org website, so check that out for the address and times. Our relocation committee is currently actively searching for the perfect place for Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas. We are anticipating having a location by sometime this spring where we can actually meet on a regular basis in person. So please know with us that the right and perfect place becomes available, and this transition to a more in-person service and gatherings happens with ease and grace. We'll continue to broadcast each and every one of our services here on our YouTube channel, even after we start meeting in person. I want to thank everyone who contributed to the service tonight with our phenomenal music provided by Melissa and our music director, Justin. And I want to thank Joe and our media team. And as always, great thanks and great gratitude to our practitioners and our leadership council for holding the consciousness and keeping us going through all of these interesting times we've experienced over the last couple of years. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your presence here tonight. It has been a great blessing to have you here with us, and I hope to see you often and in person. So So have a great week. Take these ideas into your spiritual practice. See what you can do with them. It's an exciting time to be learning and growing here in the Las Vegas Valley. Thank you and good night.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details. A vision board is not just a collection of wishes, it's a glimpse into the future that you envision for yourself and your life. Held in a beautiful space at the Enterprise Library in Las Vegas, this time together will be one of meditation, peaceful conversation, inward reflection, and an opportunity to open up to the highest idea for your days and years to come. Release the mind clutter and bring your vision into focus. Let your creative energy take charge. Put the law of attraction to work for you. Learn how to put the power in your affirmations. CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with Spiritual Soundscapes. Join us this Christmas Eve at 7 p.m. for a festive Spiritual Soundscapes Christmas presentation, concluding with a special candle lighting experience guided by your very own Reverend Laura Hallett. Enjoy the evening as CSLGLV vocalists and special guest artists fill our hearts with holiday joy, performing classic Christmas songs and carols. It's music to your ears with a wintry atmosphere streaming to your living room. Prepare your candle and relax for the evening as we celebrate the eve of Christmas as a community virtually this 2021 holiday season. Next Sunday, we continue our theme for the month of December as we experience our very first in-person service with Reverend Laura as she presents A Gift of a New Journey. This live in-person service will be on location at Abston Elementary School. Justin Vogel will start the morning with a guided meditation at 9:30. The celebration service will begin at 10. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.